Podcasts, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the podcast.
There are 4 lights!
Its 5-year mission to explore strange, familiar worlds, to seek out new listeners and new civilizations, to boldly go where most nerds have gone before. Join Matt and Shirley on their 5-year mission with a different guest each week as they talk about an episode of Star Trek, from the original series through Enterprise. They'll cover every episode, eventually.
Hi everybody, and welcome to There Are 4 Lights. I'm Matt, and I'm here with Shirley.
Hello.
And this week we are joined once again by Phil Durham from the last episode you on was Mud's Women.
Yes.
Which has been a couple of weeks ago, like quite a few weeks ago actually.
Yeah.
So Phil, you were also on the Masks of Nyarlathotep podcast.
Achtung
Cthulhu. Do you want to tell us a little about that?
Oh, yeah, it's a blast. We're cruising the world, and we're hunting down evil and trying not to die,
And
All
being sexist.
Being sexist, yeah, that happens.
I don't know if my character is sexist.
No, not necessarily.
Aren't you like the really, really smart guy who said I should stay in the library or something?
No, he did.
No.
He has actually not been sexist to you.
Oh.
I am the professor, but no.
Okay.
I was the guy that kind of that runs away whenever he pulls out their guns.
Yeah.
That's what the last professor did.
No, he didn't.
That's
No,
hilarious.
he did something.
But I don't start mumbling words and then have magic rays of death come out.
Yeah.
So
We'll see. We're only a couple episodes in.
Anyway, so this week we are talking about episode 13 of the original series called "The Conscience of the King." I guess this is season 1 of the original series. It aired.
Which, in my book, it says it's episode 12, and that's the only thing I'm going to say about my book.
As a reminder, this is ordered by Netflix. It
Yes.
would normally be 10, but since they count either The Cage or The Menagerie as 2 parts and 2 separate episodes, I forget which one they do, it throws off the numbers. This was directed by Gerd Oswald.
Ermagerd.
And was originally aired on December 8th, 1966. So, Phil, why don't you give us a run-through on the plot, and we'll get started there.
Sure. So the episode opens with an old man, and you see him kind of stab somebody, and blood kind of on his hands, and it's quickly revealed that it's a stage play, and you kind of get a lot of profile glances at a man sitting next to Kirk, and it's a Shakespearean play, and that kind of plays out, and the man that's sitting next to Kirk makes some mention of it being sure that it's Kodos, and then it kind of goes through the credits, and then it goes to the next scene, I believe, where Kirk is dressing down his friend for bringing him off course under false pretenses, and makes vague threats about having to bring him up on charges, and the man just keeps going on and on about how it is Kodos, and he swears it's Kodos, and I believe that they start getting into the background of who this Kodos is at this point. It's also
Kodos the Executioner. You have to.
Yes.
He earned that title. So
he didn't go to 4 years of executioner school to just be named Kodos.
yeah, that's that. Exactly.
It's also during this scene that finally we stop seeing Kirk's friend in profile to reveal a wonderful velour mask which cuts across the side of his face, and it kind of cuts just beside his eye socket, but then the mask randomly sticks out and covers his eye. It's part of an eye patch. It strikes as being very, very odd.
Yeah, and the mask is terrible. I mean, it is just... it's pretty bad. There's a lot better costuming in this series that we're not seeing in this episode, or at least not in that particular aspect.
You can say episode.
Yeah, well, there are other egregious errors with costuming, but we can touch on those as we go.
And then I guess the other thing about, specifically about that is that it kind of catches your eyes being so off, and then, to my knowledge, I don't remember there being any purpose or reason to it, because Kodos, the Executioner, certainly talks about, as it goes on to the episode, about how being some eugenics and lots of people dying, but not any type of accident that necessarily would have, caused this person to have been disfigured that would cause him to have this mask.
Phantom of the Opera, I'm telling you. It reminds me of Phantom of the Opera.
So then I think the next scene after that, they're back on the bridge, and is it back on the bridge, or does it go to the cocktail scene? Why does he end up at the cocktail party?
He's there to meet the
cast.
The cast.
Does he? Yeah. Oh, he changes his mind.
Yeah,
and decides to investigate.
The doctor, Dr. Thomas Layton, is the one that pulled the Enterprise off course. He wants Kirk to stick around and try and confirm his suspicions about Kodos.
Yes. Okay. So he shows up at the cocktail party. And it's just truly what I can only imagine a 60s cocktail party is from all the 60s television that I may have, or not even 60s television, but television I've seen that is supposedly set in the 60s would look like. And he's got his very shallow but wide kind of champagne glass that he's carrying just so that you definitely see him take a sip from, and most of the party is outside to, limit the cast on scene, and he's kind of walking about the house when a striking woman walks in and begins a bit of verbal banter with Kirk as we get Kirk engaging with the woman, trying to get the girl, and he then provides this girl with his drink from which he has already drank, so quickly they establish the swapping of spit throughout, but not even doing a kiss on screen.
Yeah.
And then this establishes the relationship between the two of them. They decide to take a walk to see what more might transpire between the two of them. And upon this walk, they find the masked man, Kirk's friend, dead. And so this causes Kirk to get even more kind of intrigued into what's going on into this situation, and so he calls in a favor and sends the ship that was supposed to take this theater troupe to their next destination away to force the theater troupe, and specifically the actor Karidian is his name, is the name he's going by, who Layton believes to be Kodos. Karidian's daughter, forcing Karidian's daughter to come and ask for Kirk's favor to take the troop to their next destination. She beams on board, makes the request while Spock is on the bridge, and this is where Spock starts to notice Kirk's odd behavior and points it out to him, and it becomes a ongoing battle between Spock and Kirk in the episode as to his irrational behavior and Kirk trying to maintain his authority without defending or explaining it to Spock.
And you missed something very, very important. Lenore, the daughter of Karidian, when she beams aboard, she is wearing a bath mat as a dress. It is hideous.
A blue striped
And
fuzzy bath mat, mini skirt.
Yes. Yeah.
Tights.
Yeah. Oh, and sparkling tights. Yeah. It was worse than the face mask, but not by much. Go ahead. I just want to make sure we touch on that because that's important.
Yes. Then, after Spock kind of notices his behavior, he goes and talks to McCoy, and so we get one of those classic scenes of Spock and McCoy going back and forth at each other, where Spock says, "This isn't right," and McCoy says, essentially, "Shut up, Spock. It's fine. He's just doing what Captain Kirk does."
Yeah. Yeah, it is essentially what he says.
And this scene is certainly highlighted by the fact that he just keeps that Bones just keeps drinking throughout the whole thing and pretty much just says, "Oh, if you're not going to drink with me, I'm just going to keep drinking. And you're just going to have to deal with it." Part of the research that both Kirk and Spock end up doing is that there's an additional person that was involved in this massacre that Kodos was involved with, who happens to be on the ship.
Yeah. And there were 9 original witnesses, and
who actually saw Kodos.
Yeah, and survived. And Kirk, the doctor who's now dead, and this other crewman are the only 3 that are still alive.
Riley.
Right. Well, we hadn't mentioned the name.
Sorry.
But yes, Lieutenant Kevin Riley, who we've seen before. I want to say he was the one that went crazy and locked himself in the engineering room.
Yeah, he gets in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he sings Danny Boy or
during Naked Time.
Yeah.
He locks himself in the engineering room. So this is his return.
And you might remember Lieutenant Riley as the man whose chin could have spawned Leno and Bruce. Not Bruce Almighty.
Jim Carrey?
No. Army of Darkness.
Bruce Campbell.
Yes, thank you.
Yes,
Bruce
yeah.
Campbell. The other man famous for his chin. Anyways, back to Lieutenant Riley. And so, Kirk orders Spock to essentially demote Riley, I believe in an act to protect him, but refuses to explain or defend the demotion to Spock, so it's just further fuel to the fire that Kirk is acting irrationally. But despite the demotion, Riley ends up down in engineering, or because of the demotion, Riley ends up down in engineering.
By himself, in the dark.
By himself in the dark, because apparently when you're on night shift, as is explained in a later scene, they maintain the light cycles on the ship.
Yeah.
To simulate the night and day cycle on
Yes.
Earth. But we'll get to that scene.
With a tray of cube food.
Yes. Well, yes. He has his cube food and his glass of milk.
Yeah.
the standard, apparently, military meal on the Starship Enterprise. And Lieutenant Riley is pouting because he's been demoted and he doesn't know why. And so, in an effort to entertain himself in the future, you just call up people on the intercom randomly, apparently, and demand that they sing you songs.
Well, they were in the rec room. At least he called the rec room. He did at least called the correct room. Not leaving the line open for emergencies. What are you going to do?
Yeah, the only man in engineering, like, oh my god, something's wrong, I need to get hold of engineering. Well, I guess you just SOL, because I need to listen to Uhura sing me the song, which was a beautiful song, and apparently was actually sung by Nichelle Nichols.
Yes. It's a song called Beyond Antares.
Oh.
Just so we're aware. It's a song that they wrote just for this. It's a thing.
Yeah. So, apparently, as they were prepping for this episode, they got all this cast dressing ready for the theater, and they did all of that stuff. And when someone was, reading and preparing for it, someone totally spaced that they needed a way to deliver a poison into the milk, because one of the key needs for having this scene present in the episode is that the deaths of the people who were witnesses to Kodos must continue to die, and so this one is going to be an attempted murder by poisoning. And so I guess the prop master must have gone, well, we're here, we got to get this done, and so they just grabbed a giant spray bottle.
Yeah, it looked like, it was just terrible.
And then, so to administer the poison, instead of, just being like, oh, look, we just need to get a drop or two in here, we'll just give a few spritz from my cleaner spray bottle into this man's milk.
How did he not hear that?
Uhura was singing, and there was harp.
Yeah.
And engineering has surround sound. I'm going to go with that.
Oh, all the engineering sounds.
Yeah.
Like the engine and... Yeah, okay, I got it.
And they just filtered a lot of that out for our viewing pleasure,
Right.
because, we don't need that background noise,
I was like,
I still don't understand.
In TNG, they added it back when you hear the... Vroom,
Yeah.
I still don't understand how demoting Riley from the bridge where he's going to be seen to engineering where he's going to be by himself is going to protect him. Like, there's no
Because it's
logic
supposed
there.
to be a secure area or something.
Not that secure, obviously.
He locked everybody out last time.
This is true.
Well,
Why
I
did
also
they
don't understand how it's a
why did they
demotion
put
to
him
move like from one department to another. They
Well-
make it sound like there's a clear ranking order. Oh, you're in engineering.
Well, when-
you're down here.
Here.
Well, when you're part of the bridge crew, I mean, that is a thing. I guess. I don't know. You were talking about, we found out about something when they're on the observation deck. It actually happens before the poisoning, but not a big deal. So Kirk,
Poisoning.
no. So yes, so
I'm going to just keep making that sound.
so Kirk tries to seduce Lenore. I don't understand.
Are
Wait, in
you
this scene, which one happens?
sure?
No.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure in this scene it's the other way around.
Was
Maybe.
seducing
That's very
him.
likely.
They kind of go back and forth a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It's
Kind of
equal-
what tension
equal
of seduction is
opportunity.
kind of the back and the forth.
yeah.
flirting,
So Kirk and Lenore
seduction.
have a thing in the observation deck where you can look at something and then the stars. I don't know what they were looking at inside the ship.
the flight deck.
Oh, the flight. Why are you looking at the flight deck, which is just the?
Dude, shuttles
Shuttle
are down
pods.
there. It's
Shuttle
pretty
bay.
cool.
There are no shuttles yet. We've not been introduced to shuttles yet. We've not seen.
That doesn't
shuttles
mean
yet.
they're not
They
there.
don't exist yet.
Whatever. This is not Schrodinger's
You know why?
Star Trek.
You know why we have shuttles? Because they wanted to make toys for the Migos, and they wanted a ship they could put with them, so we got shuttles. I'm not joking.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I know. Interesting.
So, like, why don't
For
they-
our listeners, if you couldn't hear the sarcasm in Shirley's voice,
I think it's interesting, and I'm in charge of the podcast, so I win. Anyway, so yeah, there's a weird scene there where Kirk.
are we going to talk about the throbbing and the?
Well, no, we're gonna first.
Whoa.
We're gonna
Like,
first.
I don't even like that. Scene
Surging-
is so embarrassing.
First, we're going to talk about
Throbbing and
the
surging.
curtain that she was
Oh,
wearing
yeah,
this
the
time.
curtain,
The
yeah.
psychedelic.
But it wasn't as
60s
bad.
It wasn't as. It wasn't.
her
as
clothing
bad.
does get progressively better.
It
Yeah.
does, because the dress she wears next is just black with that one side that's red.
Yeah.
I can almost see that being worn today with a little bit.
Like
You look
yeah.
very nice in that.
Yes, you would.
Not by me, guys. Anyway, so yeah, there's some really weird innuendo stuff about the ship and Lenore attributing anything to the ship to Kirk as well. It's just awkward. It's
It's a very
no good.
awkward scene. I don't even know how it got past. Like,
Yeah, well, they were good with innuendo as long as you didn't say it directly. That there was a weird line they drew,
she directly asks him if he's like that.
but she didn't say it. She didn't say, "Do you?" What was it? Thrust.
Throb and surge.
Yeah.
Surging and throbbing. Yeah.
Surging.
and throbbing.
Yeah,
Thrumming
she
or-
said, "Are you like that?" So it was. Yeah, it's a
Whoa.
weird line they draw
Yeah.
in the '60s.
All right, so
So Spot, yeah. So Riley ends up in the sick bay.
it's all right. So
All right,
he doesn't
go
die. All right. So I think this is when Spock finally decides that. Well, so first Spock confronts McCoy and says, "This is clearly a poisoning. There's clearly something going on here." And McCoy is being the belligerent man that he is, and says,
He's not
No.
a man. He's not a man. So half Vulcan, half man. It's very
No.
clear.
"I'm sorry. I was saying that Bones was being the
Oh,
belligerent
Bones. Yeah,
man.
yeah,
that
yeah.
he
No.
is."
Bones, belligerent man. Yes.
And says, "No, this milky substance could have been mistaken for milk as a
Yeah.
poison, because apparently the tetralubrizol or whatever it was is apparently
Yes.
also kept in the galley, which sounds like a very unfortunate planning situation."
Yeah, you often mix those up. It's a dangerous thing, but
And so when Bones goes to turn his report into Kirk,
yeah,
Spock comes along.
yeah.
And shortly thereafter, Bones leaves, but Spock continues to press Kirk about it. And then they begin to hear a noise, which turns out to be a phaser overloading, which triggers the extremely rare double red alert.
Yes. I'm not sure of any other double red alerts, but this
happened.
this is by far the first. They state that if it blows, it's going to take out the whole deck or the whole section.
The whole section.
The whole section. All of it.
Double red alert.
Just whatever. Weird. Anyway, you were saying.
This is when Kirk finally decides that he has to go and confront Karidian, the man believed to be Kodos. And so he goes into his quarters and demands that Karidian read a transcript of a speech that was given by Kodos in an attempt to get a voice print match to prove his identity, because apparently in the future there just wasn't enough DNA evidence or visual, or fingerprint or anything else to be able to track him down.
What did happen to fingerprinting?
I don't know. I have no idea. Maybe they didn't have fingerprints.
It was out in the boonies, and this planet that there was
from the
massacre
beginning,
happened.
like this guy had to be fingerprinted at some time.
Yeah, I don't know.
Especially because he was like the mayor or something, and then he declared martial law or something. So you figure there would have been something on it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyways, it didn't fit in the storyline, so they just said nope. And just so we don't forget it later, they do later compare the voice prints, which occurs by printed graph paper that looks like
an echograph.
Yeah, like a needle that actually went up and down on a scrolling piece of paper, and they were compared. Yeah, and it's like, really, that's how they did that? Compared to some of the things that in the 2 episodes I've seen, they can have the computer do analyses on.
Yeah,
that's how they're going to do the voice print analysis.
And it's not an exact match.
It's in a match, but not an exact match. To go back to the double red alert, because this is important.
Oh, okay.
Memory Alpha says that double red alert was used for extremely dire situations, especially when a nearby instantaneous response was required. This is the only time they ever used it.
Okay. I've watched a lot of TNG, and I can't think of a single time in all of the extreme circumstances that happen to TNG they called a double red alert.
And clearly the crew didn't know what to do, because they're just running back and forth in the hallway out there. But, yeah, the double red alert.
The things they didn't cover in the manual at Starfleet Academy.
Yeah. You were saying... sorry.
No, it's okay. I kind of jumped ahead because I want to make sure we didn't miss that point.
Oh, yeah, that awesome.
Voice comparison. As Kirk is completing his interrogation, which actually I think had some good monologues and some good exchanges between the Karidian character and the Kirk character. Karidian's daughter, Lenore, is that it?
Yeah, Lenore.
Yes, Lenore.
Lenore show up, and she gets some pretty solid jabs in at Kirk about it, though.
Yeah.
She's, even at this point, clearly not without blame for doing some own uses and abuses of other people, though Kirk doesn't really necessarily stick it back to her very well.
Wearing a new dress with the red. This one's much better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is actually looks like a dinner dress.
Yeah.
That Matt would look very well in.
Look good.
Yes.
And so I think that after this... so after this it becomes clear that they are going to be going to the play very shortly. And... not Spock. Bones.
Yeah.
Bones begins recording a medical log.
Yeah.
Which he does... audibly, with, because, in sickbay, there's clearly a single door to the hallway.
Yeah.
And then no further doors beyond that. No,
Just that one.
There's no isolated office for the doctor.
Just the one. No more. Just the one.
So when the doctor is making his notes, any patient who might be nearby can hear any notes that the doctor makes. And so, Bones, because he's probably had some more of his whiskey or whatever he's keeping in his drawer.
It's wrong. No, it's not Romulan.
It's
because it's blue.
Yeah, it's
Romulan is blue.
Andorian ale.
Yeah.
I think.
Anyway. It's bones and booze. He's drinking. Probably, there wasn't actually any booze in the scene. I'm just guessing. Starts talking about how Riley should be cleared to resume duty, but Kirk has ordered that he be kept in sickbay because he wants Riley sequestered from Karidian, who may be Kodos, both for Riley's safety and possibly for Karidian/Kodos' safety, since it's not yet confirmed 100% in Kirk's mind as to if Karidian is Kodos. But Riley overhears this, and apparently even as loud as the doors on TOS are, is able to escape the sickbay and get his hands on a phaser.
Riley seems really dangerous. He's locked himself in the engineering. He slips out of... Like, this is a guy you want to keep an eye on.
But he's going places.
This is true.
That's what they said in the last one. They said, don't underestimate him because he's got a lot of skills or something. I don't know.
He's one of those people who perhaps are talented but don't have the discipline, perhaps, to truly achieve
Execute that type of,
because he likes to
Yeah.
listen to harp
run
playing
around
over
and listen to harp playing and.
And so then after that scene is when they actually have the voice print comparison scene.
Mm-hmm.
Then they go back to sickbay, where Bones makes some smarmy doctors never get to see the beginning of a play comment, and then notices that Riley is missing,
yep.
Which he then notifies the captain. The captain rushes down to the play, goes backstage, finds Riley, talks Riley out of killing Kodos. Then there's a lot of dialogue between Kodos, or Karidian, Lenore, and Kirk, and it comes out that Lenore has been killing all of the witnesses.
Yeah, to save her dad.
To save her dad, who is Kodos. And then it becomes quite clear, quite quickly, that not only is Lenore questionably mentally stable to begin because she's doing all these murders, but she's quickly and rapidly in this scene decelerating into madness.
Yeah.
And so once it becomes clear that her father is not pleased about the actions that Lenore has taken, and that no one around her agrees or understands with what she's done, she grabs a phaser off of an inept security guard, which is not the first time we'll be seeing an inept security guard in this scene.
Nor the last.
It's a red shirt. What do you expect?
Yeah.
Them to die, but I don't think that happens in this episode.
Nope.
No red shirt. Sorry.
We're getting there.
Spoilers.
And so then she takes that, runs out to front stage, and then where there's a great yelling and commotion about the crowd, who just kind of get up and run around in place because it doesn't actually appear that any of them. Well, in later scenes, they clearly are all there. None of them seem to have actually left the room.
They didn't go anywhere. They didn't do anything.
They just stood up.
I'm just thinking,
The
like,
whole
somebody else had
way.
to have had a phaser. They could have just stunned him. Or stunned her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, again, new outfit. She's wearing some sort of floral thing on
It's
top,
medieval.
and it's a dress.
Yes. It's
Yeah.
Renaissance.
With these
It is a little bit more costuming
stiff,
forward.
very, very stiff braids in her hair, too, one on each side of her face.
I think they were clipped in. You just couldn't tell.
It's possible. Or they were so tightly braided that they were terrible. Anyway, go ahead.
I just need to say that both in watching the episode and now, you feel as strongly to point out how tightly they braid. Did you braid a lot as a child? You got like sisters that forced you to braid, and you just never got them tight enough.
It
Like,
wasn't like
what
the
is this
braid
fixation?
laid on her face or moved naturally. It just was this thing there, and it was sticking out, and it caught me. I don't know.
Okay, I don't think
Anyway.
I want to know anymore because I'm afraid of where I might go.
Anyway, so we're going to move on.
So she's determined to kind of keep defending herself, and so she is, as she's going crazy, she makes it clear that Kirk tries to talk her down, and so she very slowly takes a shot at Kirk. Her father, Karidian / Kodos, somewhat slowly steps in front of that shot and dies, at which point she finally kind of
Loses it.
Loses it.
well, at least surrenders.
Yeah.
And kind of in grief collapses. And then Kirk comes forward and grabs the phaser while multiple red shirts stand back in the crowd and have done nothing throughout the entire thing.
They haven't come up. They didn't even move up toward the stage.
No. While in Lenore's back is two of these security guards in the crowd, and they just kind of stood there and watched.
Well, while their captain's being threatened.
Maybe they thought it was part of the play.
It also could be that, Kirk gets all these people killed, so why are they going to step forward? No, that sounds terrible, but you never know.
Well, what's the red shirt count at this point?
That's a good question. I'd have to officially look, because I haven't calculated the last 2 episodes, which is really technically 3, since one of them was a 2-parter. But before that, it wasn't very high. I'm getting
it was like 1 or 2.
We have a total body count that's like 70.
What, 70?
Yeah, hold
In
on.
these first
Oh yeah,
episodes?
that's total body count.
Yeah,
but
that's
not
why I said
red
that's
shirt
why I said total.
Okay.
That's why the word total body count. So we have lost 3 blue shirts, 2 gold shirts, 3 red shirts, and 20.
Pedestrians.
No, it was officially it was 19 was the crew of the Antares and some random thug plus a unicorn dog.
That poor little thing.
Yeah, they murdered a unicorn dog. Anyway, so I guess it's only
so cute.
29.
Yep.
So now we've been updated.
Not
on that.
70.
So it kind
And then the episode closes with them talking on the bridge and McCoy wanting to know if Kirk really liked this woman.
So, did you guys listen to what he said?
What?
He said that she'll be well taken care of and she doesn't remember a thing. She still thinks her father is alive.
And performing to cheering audiences.
What did they do? Wipe her memory?
Or she lost it, doesn't remember killing her father.
I think she just kind of lost it, but I also think it's kind of a 60s attitude towards crazy women.
Yeah, mental health doesn't get the best of light in the 60s.
Well, to me, I felt like, they wiped her memory, and now she's...
I doubt that,
she's
but
just
maybe.
living it up in a resort,
They might
she's
have
not
pumped her
paying
full of happy
for
drugs.
what she did.
I
She's not being held responsible.
I didn't get the impression, but this is also the future where they don't put people in jail, they help them to get better.
Right.
So, I mean... I get what you're saying, and I'm completely there with you. But this is kind of that process where they're still trying to force
Fix
that
the crazy.
we help the people, which I don't have a problem with that concept.
Yeah. Well, dude, if you can give somebody a pill to fix their kidneys.
So that was kind of the wrap up of the plot. Arnold Moss was Anton Karidian. He was in several things.
Really? What several things was he in?
I don't recognize a lot of this stuff, but Viva Zapata, Gambit, Border Incident, My Favorite Spy. Like, these are things I don't know. He was in The Girl from U.N.C.L.E.
Oh, nice.
And The Man from U.N.C.L.E.
These are all 50s and 60s movies,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. He stopped acting in the late 70s because he was almost 70, so he passed away in 89. But besides him, there was also Lenore, who had... we'll get into that in a minute, never mind. It was played by Barbara Anderson, Mrs. Anderson, and she was known for a lot of 60s and 70s stuff. She stopped acting in the 90s.
Are you talking about his daughter?
Yeah, but she was on Hawaii Five-0 and The Love Boat and Wonder Woman. Yeah.
Oh, that's where I recognize her from.
Yeah. She was also on Mission Impossible for 15 episodes-ish. And Ironside, the TV show, she was Officer Eve Whitfield for all 105 episodes.
Nice.
Wow. So yeah, she was prolific. This was actually only her third
that was
acting
a
credit.
4-year stint on Ironside.
Yeah. But those were the 2 big ones. I don't know if there was anybody else that was really worth mentioning. I think Memory Alpha says that there were a couple other people that were...
William Sargent, who's Dr. Tom Layton, he was on The Twilight Zone, Alfred Hitchcock Presents, and The Invaders, and the FBI.
He was in the FBI? He was also in Hitler.
Oh,
I'm sorry, The Private Life of Hitler from 1962.
So, and then Natalie, his wife, was actually in Perry Mason, Dark Shadows, and Have Gun Will Travel.
Oh, there you go. So yeah, there's they had some prolific actors, people that were known at the time, especially William Sargent. He was in a lot of stuff before he ever got on Star Trek. So, yeah. So moving on to Strange Races, we didn't have anything other than Spock being Spock. And then
can we
things that stuck out.
dedicate our dress as a strange race?
Yes, her
carpet dress.
Her carpet dress was definitely a strange race. So two things that stuck out for me, these are the ones that I remembered that we didn't talk about already, was that at one point McCoy says to Spock something about the Vulcans being a conquered race.
I got that right here.
There you go.
He tries to get Bones tries to get Spock a drink, and Spock says, "My father's race was spared the dubious benefits of alcohol." To which McCoy's response was, "Now I know why they were conquered." Under his breath, kind of, but yes.
Yeah. But this clearly does not fit with the Star Trek we know eventually. And then the other thing that really stuck out, besides all the other stuff we talked about, was Barbara, the lady that played Lenore, had some really, really crazy eyes when she put forth the effort. It's really, really good. Anything guys stuck out for you guys that we didn't already cover?
No, we talked about the mask. Double red alert.
Double red alert. Sorry.
Squirting milk into a milk glass.
Food cubes.
Food cubes. Oh, food cubes.
Did you want to talk about your
Some
space
of them
checkers
are
or whatever?
Oh, they had 3D space checkers and the 3D.
It's chess. It's
no,
3D chess.
There was also, I swear to you, there were multiple level checker. There was a multiple level checkerboard as well. Space
and
checker.
then there was that game that just had all the flashy lights.
I don't know
on
what
it.
that was.
I wish
It was in the foreground when they were in the rec room.
Yeah.
Oh, six things, because that first one and the second one I had forgotten about, because the second one is not bad. It's a blue. It's the thing that she wears at the party.
She was at in the party.
I'm showing the
It looks nice.
The 6 costume changes.
Yeah, but the thing is, she puts that veil on when they're out walking around. She looks like some Spanish lady.
She's a space lady.
Space Spanish lady?
Which, those costume changes, according to Memory Alpha, shares the record with Ricardo Montalban and Joan Collins for the most costume changes worn in a single Trek episode by a guest star.
Nice.
Joan Collins and Ricardo Montalban.
Yeah.
Like those are the two. Those are some big names to tie with. I mean, that's impressive. Anything else, sweetie?
No, not that I can find.
So let's get into our recurring items. Bones doesn't say anything about being a doctor and not something else, and he doesn't pronounce anyone dead.
He does.
I thought he did, because
He doesn't say not a doctor or anything else, but he does talk about doctors always missing the first name.
Yeah.
It says early in the story, he tells Tom Layton, "Kodos is dead. I'm satisfied. Satisfied with that. You never let it out of your mind. Now it's become an obsession. It's over. Leave it that way. He's dead."
But he doesn't say he's dead, Jim. Yeah. Kirk totally gets the lady, but the lady also gets Kirk.
Yeah.
Spock is logical all the way through.
He doesn't give up anything.
Yeah.
This
episode.
You made the point.
He didn't even, him and Uhura never flirted one time.
They weren't in the same scene together.
Oh, they
Uhura
weren't
is
even
only
on the bridge?
Oh, well, she might have been there, but she didn't have any lines.
Okay.
Uhura did have lines on the bridge at the very beginning.
Oh, did she?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But not really anything to interact directly with Spock.
And then Uhura got to play the harp and sing. That was awesome. The Vulcan space harp. Everything's space in space.
You did comment about, as we were watching, Spock and the eugenics comment.
Yeah, okay, that's a good point. So Spock makes a point that Kodos was using eugenics.
And he said what his words were. his own thoughts or his own form of eugenics. He doesn't
Right.
say.
I just, but then he,
eugenics.
I don't know. It just seemed off for a scientist to say that, and then not seem to understand the scientific concept of eugenics. Not that he should, approve of it, but you're going to read it,
No.
or am I going to read it?
No, this is a totally different point that I want to bring up.
But yeah, it was weird. I didn't like the way it was handled. So what are we looking at?
This is a random point that Matt Groening, creator of The Simpsons, named his recurring alien characters Kodos and Kang after the characters in this episode and the Day of the Dove, respectively.
Nice.
Yeah.
That is awesome. I didn't know that. So there are no crew deaths in this. There is the murder of a doctor.
Yep.
And a near murder of a gold shirt.
Yep.
And then
Riley. Lieutenant Riley, say it.
Lieutenant Riley.
Gosh.
If we
He
give
has
them
a
names,
name.
If we give them names, we'll feel bad later.
This isn't a Game of Thrones.
No. And then the Kodos dies. Karidian and Kodos.
Yeah.
Same person. Anything else, guys?
I think that covers it.
Yeah,
All right.
I think that's about it.
Our next episode is Balance of Terror, and I highly suggest you guys
Balance of Terror.
listen to that. If you only listen occasionally, this is going to be the introduction of a foe that will stick with Star Trek all the way through the end of Enterprise. I mean, this is a big one. It's the Romulans. So this is where they're introduced. It's kind of a big deal. So
What episode is it?
this is episode 15 according to Netflix. It would be Balance of Terror.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know what the order in that book is.
That's why I'm kind of flipping through.
So, you guys can find us next week, and we will talk to you guys real soon.
And that'll do us tonight for
There are 4 lights.
Remember, you can email us at thereare4lightspodcast@gmail.com or find us on Facebook at facebook.com/nerdsdomain, on Twitter at nerdsdomain, or over at our site, nerdsdom.com. Be sure to sign up for the newsletter while you're there. You can head over to iTunes and give us a 5-star rating. A big thanks to 5 Year Mission for their music. You can find them at 5yearmission.net. Don't forget you can support us at patreon.com/nerdsdomain. And check out our shirts at /loot.